Hey guys, it's Lindsay. We're going to do the air sign tarot reading for August into September. As always, if any of these readings don't align for you, please take only what you need and leave the rest. This is a group reading. If you'd like a personal reading, you can check out the links. Let's see what's showing up here today for air signs. Hearing a breath of fresh air, which I feel like we need, right? During the general reading first. Oops, we're going to let those go. Come back to them later. We're going to start with the two first cards. Air signs. We have Page of Cups. That is the emotions, and when I pulled that, I was getting a breath of fresh air. Then we have the Lovers. We have some new romantic relationships coming in for air signs between August and September, it looks like. So that's going to be interesting. And for some of you, I feel like you haven't been in a relationship for a while, so this is like really a breath of fresh air. All right, let's see what's happening. I'm going to pick up those cards off the floor. So we're using our full deck. Typically when you're using a tarot deck, there are 72 cards in the deck, okay? Some decks might have like a couple more. Sometimes people do extra cards, but that's the typical number in a full deck. Unless you are using an oracle deck, which is, you know, how many cards, you know, typically they want to use for an oracle deck. Oracle is different than tarot. Tarot is the standard deck with the major and minor arcana, okay? Oracle is typically more of a free creation depending on, you know, who is creating the oracle deck, right? So we're going to start with Libra for the air signs August into September and see what shows up. And we already have that reading with the Lovers and the Page of Cups in our general reading, okay? Well, this is weird. Libra, this, like, I'm hearing the word antagonize, which is kind of strange, right? If we're talking about romance, if we're talking about connection, why is antagonizing coming in? And you have the Strength card, but reversed. Okay, yeah, so Libra, I feel like for many of you there is a new connection, but for some of you there is like a longer term connection. But you're in this energy of using your strength the wrong way, right? You're in like this battle protective mode, antagonizing in the love interest, the romance interest, even without realizing it, okay? Which typically I don't really associate with Libra as behavior, but this is really kind of interesting energy that's coming through. It's almost a little defensive, right? It's defensive and protective, and like it's going, well, not defensive, let's be clear, offensive, going on the offensive in romance as a manner of protecting yourself. And for some of you, the way this is coming through, Libra, is like you don't actually need to be doing all that, right? You don't actually, you are not needing to do all of that, okay? And it is very much like, if the situation was not working out and you cut them off, you just cut them off, okay? You don't need to do the extra, like, antagonizing kind of energy or, like, playing around in the conversation or anything like that. That for others of you, if this is a new connection, this is kind of like, part of it is fear-based. This reaction is fear-based, okay? So it's very much like, unsure of this new connection, and you're kind of like in this like antagonistic kind of energy, which is really interesting to me. Let's see what else shows up for that. Yes, this is crazy. So we have the Emperor, but we have the Emperor, we have the Emperor reversed, okay? So the Emperor is a seated card. So typically on the card, this is the mushroom deck, but typically it is a man on a throne, right? So the Emperor does not need to get up in order for his orders to be followed. He can sit and basically rule and in a very balanced way, okay? So when we have the Emperor reversed, that's telling me there's a level of unbalance to your energy, particularly in romantic connection right now, Libra. And that's why we're getting on this offensive, like antagonistic kind of behavior thing. And it's not like you don't notice it. You don't notice these aspects of yourself coming out. You do notice. You're very self-aware, right? Most air signs are very self-aware. But it's like you have this automatic response of being in the fear, right? And so I want you to start kind of noticing where that behavior is coming up. There's also this essence of being like short with your romantic partner. Instead of speaking to like the truth of what you're feeling, you end up being like short, you know, like short answers, short conversation, that type of energy. And for some of you, yes, this is like, you know, things you've already said to your romantic partner multiple times, and you're kind of short with them for that reason. That's fine, you know. You shouldn't have to tell a person over and over again, you know, I need help with this or do this, or, you know, like, as in an adult relationship, you know, you should have that equitable kind of exchange of energy. And if you're continuously kind of like trying to get them to do something, or trying to listen to you and like actually hear you and respond and correct a behavior that's bothering you, you know, that is obviously, that can end up being short, because if you're not feeling like you're being listened to, right? But if that is not the case, and it's more of a fear-based thing, like fear of this person getting too close, fear of this connection not working out, like that type of energy, you know, just really look at where that kind of energy is coming from, Libra. I really do think like this is kind of like the glaring thing in August into September is where is this fear around romantic relationship coming from, right? Dig a little bit deeper. Dig a little bit deeper. Let's see if anything else is coming up. And for some of you, actually, in the way that I'm seeing this, there's like this little tail right here. It looks like a snake tail. You've had to deal with people in the past who were actually snakes in romance, right? And so this is where this kind of like fear structure, this behavior is coming from, is because you are going on the offensive in order not to have to deal with like another snake, okay? And for some of you, I feel like this is, you know, just not the case with the person that you're coming into contact with and or already in contact with right now. And so it's very much going into that fear patterning, okay? So let's get a little bit deeper on Libra, August to September. Anything else showing up? Anything else? It's like, I keep hearing like animal body, right? It's in your animal body. So when we talk about animal body, it's that kind of fight or flight, like behavior that's based in like the reptilian, right? So like when I say reptilian, I'm talking about that ancient kind of programming in the brainstem, right? We came out of like tadpoles and, you know, reptilian type animals, and we evolved in mammals and like all this type of thing. So we evolved into mammalia, right? And it's that like ancient programming in the brainstem. It's like attack, right? And that's the animal body. That's the animal body that I'm seeing, is you responding from that animal body, that ancient protective behavior of the mind to survive, basically, okay? So part of this is like getting out of the animal body and into the present consciousness of, you know, the articulated human mind, okay? the Four of Cups. Okay, so some of you may actually be dealing with, this is interesting because there's something about family, and I don't know if it's particularly you having children with this person or their family, okay? There's something about their family, so some of you may actually be receiving commentary, negative commentary, or from their family, and that may be part of this reaction you're having because you're not feeling that they're defending you appropriately, right? So if someone's family, if someone is essentially choosing their family opinion over, you know, setting boundaries around your relationship, right? That shows where the value is, and that's kind of a little bit of the way this is coming in, Libra, is for some of you, instead of, you know, your partner speaking up for you in the presence of their family, they're letting disrespectful things slide continuously because it's easier for them, quote unquote. But it also makes you feel devalued, and it also makes you feel like that they don't have that Emperor energy themselves in order to speak up for your relationship, right? So it's like, you know, how important are you to them if they can't set boundaries around your relationship in regards to their families and how their family behaves respectfully around you, right? And that's both sides, right? You know, like, you also have to be able to speak up for your partner. Now, it's not to say if your partner is doing something egregious, right? So if their behavior is egregious, but if the family is saying things to pick on how you look or pick on your character, things like that, and there's none of that kind of behavior happening from your end, and your partner's just not speaking up, that's a huge problem. And that can also be the root of this, right? You're like, you fear that your partner is not actually going to be able to defend you in real life situations. Because it's one thing to ideate that, you know, oh, I will defend my family, I will speak up for them, blah, blah, blah. That's a fantasy, right? But can you do it in day-to-day situations? Can you do it to your family when they disrespect your partner, right? You have this great fantasy of being this defender, this emperor, right? Male or female. But ultimately, if you can't show up in the day-to-day, you know, do the day-to-day stuff around the house for your partner, with your partner, without being asked, doing the equal load, if you can't show up in the day-to-day, you know, mentally, emotionally for your partner, so they're not doing the mental load, and if you can't show up in the day-to-day in setting boundaries around respect around your partnership, particularly where the family and friends are involved, right? And so, like, Libra, for some of you, I feel like not just family, the other thing that's coming in is allowing friends to disrespect you, right? Your name. So when you are not there, maybe you hearing, like, or people telling you, oh, you know, the friends were saying this, and your partner didn't say anything. They just sat there, okay? So this is this type of behavior. You know, you can't be in an adult relationship and then not be able to aptly defend that relationship and speak up for that relationship and show up for that relationship, right? Because you're still acting in the energy of a child, right? You're not acting in the energy of the Emperor. And I feel like for some of you, Libra, if you are ultimately not coming from this fear base, okay, so again, this is a twofold reading, because some of you actually are coming from, like, this fear patterning, and that's something that you have to work on. But there are others of you, in the way this is coming through, you are coming into realization that your partner is not able to hold space and defend your relationship appropriately. And that's where this kind of antagonistic behavior is coming from, is like, they're not defending it, and so you have this rise in you to fight, right? Because they've essentially othered you. Okay, so when a partner doesn't speak up in the presence of family or friends who are disrespecting their partner, that partner has been othered. That they're basically saying this behavior is okay. You can do this behavior in my presence and I'm not going to say anything about it, right? It's okay to disrespect my partner. It's okay to say some sly remark about my partner. And I'm not going to say anything about it, and they've othered you so that they can remain in the group of friends or family. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, if someone was disrespecting my partner, I wouldn't want to remain in that group anyways, because that shows me exactly what kind of people those people are. To say something nasty about your partner in the presence of that person, right? And so this is the twofold reading that we're getting for Libra in August to September is, Libra either working romantically on that fear-based patterning, if it is indeed you, okay, and be discerning. But if it is not you, in the reasoning that this antagonistic kind of thing is coming through, really having that conversation with your partner and being real and be like, hey, I've heard that, you didn't speak up for me. And also closely watch their response when they do, okay? Because if they start becoming antagonistic, instead of being open to the fact that you were hurt by this, or if they try to downplay and be like, oh, you didn't hear that, right? Da-da-da. That tells you who they are as a person and how they're going to show up, and that they don't have the capacity to show up any further than that, okay? So this is a really kind of come to terms moment for your relationship, Libra, in August to September, and just be very discerning, okay? This is the way this is coming through. Be very discerning around your romance and your possible romantic connections in August to September. Okay, we're going to go into Aquarius, and I'm going to say again the Lovers for Aquarius. Then we have the Page of Cups. We're talking about emotions, connection. So, okay. What is happening with Aquarius? I feel like you're waiting. I'm doing this thing that's waiting. I'm just waiting here. I'm just hanging out, Aquarius. Just hanging out, and you're seeing the Lovers, and that's literally this energy is just hanging out. Passing the time away. We have the Three of Pentacles, and the thing that's coming in here, Aquarius, is I do feel like you have a lot of admirers, right? So there's a lot of activity going here, and then we can say this is, I'm very intuition based with these cards, so I know the meanings of the cards, but I typically follow my intuition on kind of how this card is reading, and that's personally how I read. It's you have all this interest, Aquarius, right? And you're here, you're just hanging out. And it's funny that I'm assigning human emotions to mushrooms, but we're here. Mushrooms are intelligent, right? The mycelium. So you're just hanging out, but you have all these people admiring you at a romantic level and interested in you, and you're just okay. Sure. Now, if you don't know anything about Aquarius is very much the lone wolf of the zodiac. They can give or take a relationship, and that's give or take a relationship with anyone. That's not just romantic. That's familial, friends, whatever, So Aquarius, the other air signs, operates mainly from the mind, right? So they can be very solitary, they can be very hermit, they can keep themselves entertained. And for that reason, there is this level of mystery to Aquarius. And a lot of people kind of get caught onto that, and they're oh, what's happening over here, And that's very much kind of what's happening August to September for Aquarius, which I think is really funny. And so actually what I'm getting for Aquarius is you might be getting multiple love offers, multiple connection offers, and people coming back around. Okay, particularly if you are like on social media, or you post, or you do anything like that, there's people coming back around. And also the other thing, Aquarius, that's coming through is you're getting a lot of dreams about people from your past, okay? People that you have been romantically connected with or not, and you're dreaming about them a lot, okay? And so that's the other thing that's coming through, is this very kind of like underlying subconscious connection first. And that's fine, that's cool, like whatever, you know, unless it's somebody you don't want to be connected with, right? So, you know, protect your subconscious, Aquarius. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into this August, September for the sign and see what's showing up for my fellow Aquarius. What is happening here? Oh, you are getting some sort of like serious upgrade, Aquarius. Very intense, like you're being shot forth like from a cannon is kind of the imagery that I'm getting. It's just like going into the stratosphere, August to September, okay? Like very quick up level in a very short span of time. And I feel like for many of you this has been on hold, okay? So you've been like waiting for the up level, and you're kind of getting pissed off, and now it's like finally happening, and then like your boots are just like right off the ground, okay? So it's like a rocket ship, okay? Very interesting. And time is also coming in, because I'm watching the time on my thing and it's kind of running out, but that also feels like at the last minute is coming. The last minute is something very important, okay? Something coming in at the last minute, Aquarius. Okay, so let's get back to this Lover's card and this emotional card, right? This is a very interesting reading. I want you to gather more information, Aquarius. You are the prime information gatherer, right? You know, if something piques your interest or you have to learn about something, you know, you will gather all the information. And not only that, you really fact check your information, which is why it's difficult for people to catch you out, right? You test your hypothesis, right? So you hypothesize what you think is going on, and then you test it and you gather your information. You're like, oh, yep, I was right. And even if Aquarius is wrong and they've been corrected, you know, they use that as information. So this is why it is very hard to get things back in Aquarius, right? Because once they've seen a pattern, once they have the information, they will always have that information, okay? And they will be able to recognize it. And not only that, they will be able to clearly and succinctly state what they're seeing, okay? And that's another thing I want to say. So a lot of people find Aquarius either maybe cruel or maybe not emotional. But what people have to realize is Aquarius moves from the mind, right? Strictly from the mind. So they're coming from, or we're coming from, a very logical point of view, okay? Aquarius is able to remove the emotions in order to understand the logic and the information that's being given to them, okay? And that's why they often come off as cold. It's like a computer processing, okay? Gathering the information and processing. And the other thing is, so in romantic relationships, they're doing that too. So, you know, just be warned, you know, if you've never been in a relationship with an Aquarius, they are constantly evaluating and processing and trying to understand their partner or their possible partner on levels that, you know, most people couldn't even grasp, right? They get in. And Aquarius will dig in psychologically to each and every person that has surrounded them and or will surround them, and deeply get in. Now, will they share that information with you? Not all the time, because it will be hurtful, but for many people, because many people can't, you know, take that straight information, right? It doesn't typically bother Aquarius to get factual or truthful information. What bothers Aquarius is being at the hands of untruthful information, right? Or people who call them liars, or people, you know, who basically don't take them at their word. So the word and the factual information is typically the most important thing to Aquarius. out of everything, beyond emotions, right? Is people who stand for their word and people who are actively who they say they are, particularly in romantic relationships. Because Aquarius can very quickly see if someone is not who they say they are, because they've taken all that apart. They've taken the mask apart, right? It's like a puzzle. People become puzzles for Aquarius to solve. And once they've solved it, for better or for worse, they will either continue with that connection or they will not continue with that connection. And this is kind of what's coming up in August to September for Aquarius. Aquarius is having all these admirers. And so you have all these little puzzles. Fascinating. Fascinating. Absolutely love that. And there's Aquarius. Oh, I'm going to solve this one. I'm going to solve this one. I'm going to solve this one. And I will preface this by saying, you know, obviously people are not puzzles. I understand on a very real level, people are people and are impacted by emotions and external events and things like that that cause them to act out of character. But many people, or most people, approach life from their inherent patterning. And that's the puzzle that Aquarius loves to solve, right? They want to understand that inherent patterning that is beneath everything, that is at the subconscious level, okay? And so this is what's happening in August to September, Aquarius. You've got all these admirers, and you're like, oh, we're going to see what's happening here. We're going to see who is the best match, right? And so on a very real level, for most Aquarius, or pretty much all Aquarius, they need someone who is intellectually stimulating, because they need that puzzle, right? So Aquarius does not do well with people who do not intellectually stimulate them first and foremost, right? And that is what's happening here, August to September, Aquarius, is you are seeking that person who is able to continuously intellectually stimulate you. Okay, you are seeking that connection out of this entire wave of connections that's coming in, okay? And I think for some of you, you're actually going to find it. For some of you, it's actually going to be other air signs. And then I'm also hearing Sag as well. Okay, so Sag is a great connection for Aquarius. Fantastic connection for Aquarius. And that is also coming through. Let's see if anything else is coming through for Aquarius. Interesting. Knight of Wands. The Devil. So in this group we're talking about, Aquarius, I feel like there's one person in particular that's going to try and test your ability, and you've already seen that pattern, so that's not really a big issue for you, because you've seen it, and once you've seen it, as I said again, you can very quickly understand it and be like, oh, I see you from a mile away, right? So we have the Devil card and we have the Nine of Wands. They're coming in offering all this passion, all this like fire, all this whatever. And you're like, there's no substance under this. There's nothing under this. You don't have the intellectual capacity to meet me, because there's nothing beneath this. It's all just passion and lust and like forward-faced love bombing that's happening here. And you're like, I see you for what you are, which is the Devil card. Right? So just be aware, Aquarius. I know you already are, and I know you can pick it up pretty quickly, but yeah, lots of romantic connections coming in for you there. Very good. So we did Libra, Aquarius, Gemini for August to September. What is this romantic connection, Gemini? Oh, I'm hearing twins and twins in the way as, now I don't really like to do twin flame type of reading, whatever, but twin in the way that this connection mirrors you in like a scary way. And for some of you, these are people who you've already met, who have come back, and for some of you, this is a new connection where this person oddly, like their life weirdly mirrors you in ways that are like very unsettling, and it's not like they're even trying to do that, or like pull the wool over your eyes, because you're like Aquarius, where you know, once you see a pattern, you can see it from a mile away. That's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is like their life very weirdly mirrors yours. And you're like, what kind of magic is this? The Magician, what is this? So the way I'm going to say is take this very slow, this connection. And for you, Gemini, if you don't know this person, again, it's a new connection. But for many of you, it's like somebody, again, I was saying at the beginning, coming back around and be like, hey, it's your mirror. Here we are. Here's the mirror coming back around again. And if they are coming back around, it's a closing of a cycle. So you have the Wheel of Fortune. That is a closing of a cycle, okay? And you're like, okay, they're coming back to mirror, and they're mirroring something that I have already healed for, and I'm working on healing. And that's part of this connection is to get you to look at that thing and be like, okay, it's time to heal that thing. It's time to kind of close off that thing and not keep playing in that same sandbox, okay? Okay, let's see what else is showing up. Anything else? And I'm hearing, because this is interesting, the Magician, it's Little Birds of the Wood is the name of this mushroom. And what I'm hearing is they're going to call you, okay? They are going to call you on the phone. People you haven't heard from in a while who are like your mirror. And for some of you, they've become, you know, very much themselves. They're more than they were before, and they are that seated emperor. So there is a possibility of reconnection, but again, be very discerning in your way, right? Four of Pentacles, yeah, because you want to make sure that they've built that foundation. Pentacles is foundation, okay? And being very assured about it, being very slow, and not rushing back into something just because it feels right or it feels interesting, Gemini, where you want to psychologically, you know, evaluate that person. Don't rush back in, okay? And that is the reading for air signs for August to September. My name is Lindsey Rose, Storyteller Tarot. If you liked any of this reading, please comment. Otherwise, I wish you guys well.